No! Fuck out of here! Yeah. Hey guy, you be hitting.
Huh?
You getting your trophy or what?
I'm trying to. Oh, I died.
How the fuck is this brother still alive?
Alright, Storm's going crazy. Storm's going crazy. And you died.
Yo, am I shit? I'm getting these niggas like one shot and then I can't get the finish.
I think you just gotta do more damage quicker.
Quicker.
You know, like more. You know, more DPS.
I'm a DPS, bro.
Yeah, but you need to do a little bit more DPS, or just pull them off the map, bro.
You're not kind. That's what, bro. That's what I was trying to practice, bro.
What is this guy altering? Oh, me.
Alright, okay. I think I'm done with Spider-Man right now. Should I play? Should I play?
You'll have my revenge for that.
The other go.
The other go.
This is real firepower!
Why don't you play a tank? We need another tank.
Why would I do that? I could be a menace.
You could be a menace in multiple ways. Oh, okay, guys. Where the fuck is the team?
I got invisible. I died.
I was fine, thank you.
I'm about to do this shit for real, bro. I'm about to do this shit for real.
You about to do it?
I'm about to do it, bro. I'm about to do it to him. They're gonna be like, damn. Why you do it like that? Oh, shit. Wolverine thought he did something. Go right back to a health pack over here. Holy shit. Oh.
Oh my god! Why are they chasing me? Go take it, go take it. I'm like, wait. Did you hear me?
Someone. Back. We're so bad. Hawkeye, more like even Conchu. Exactly.
Did you hear me?
I'm gonna be screaming and then I don't know what happened after that.
Bro, am I in the game for you? Oh my god.
Are you in the game? Yeah, you're in the game.
Yeah, I think I'm back.
Oh, that was crazy. That was a fucking combo.
Never miss! This is real firepower! Your mind is mine!
Oh no.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a winner.
Some uninvited guests.
Disappear!
I suppose that helps.
Watch this. Oh. It didn't work. I died. Oh, that was like at the same time, bro. Oh shit. Oh back?
I'm back. And now there's hellfire to pay.
You still here?
Yeah, I was shit and stuff.
You're working.
Mental domination.
This is real
Yeah, I gotta take all my ones.
Guys, what are we doing though?
I don't know you're not talking, bro.
This queen's reign.
Yo, Hawkeye's violated me, son.
Pick a different character, bro.
Okay, let me get one more alt off, and then I'll switch to a tank, bro. I'll switch to Penny, and we'll win. But it's not about winning; it's about having fun at the end of the day.
You can switch to anybody.
Remember what
else.
Jetson said? It's about having fun.
Now or never. Stop them.
Somewhere.
I'm about to die again. Give me the bubble. Split.
Only 60 seconds left.
I was fine. Thank you. You were beneath me.
You stopped them in their tracks.
Rise, my friend.
Oh, shout out Agent Crow, bro.
Oh shit. Everybody's doing everything right now.
Second chance is over.
I was fine. But thank you. Mental domination.
This is real firepower.
You're mine.
You'll have to keep
God.
fighting until we have much better.
On your toes. Here they come. My strength is renewed.
You can't be rid of me so easily, I'm afraid.
Bro, they just double teamed me and everything. Almost, okay, I almost have my ult again. I can't switch. But I was really tickled monster if you be spectating me still.
Bro, I can see it in the stat line.
Never miss.
Bro, are we actually about to lose this? How are we not getting no kills?
We. Oh my fucking god.
How did I die instantly? I don't get it.
Oh my god.
Rise and fall. Love battlefield medicine.
Almost like they're all.
Or else.
This make me angrier.
Disappear!
Fast. Grace us.
No way you did that, bro.
What was I meant to do, bro?
Damage.
I died instantly. Alright, I'm coming.
Oh, why did you do it while they still had their invisible beam?
That help.
Because I need to get on point as quickly as possible.
Mental domination.
This is portal. Is that your portal, bro? What are you doing, man?
Now we locked
That died
in.
mid choke slam, bro. Yeah, I think the element of confusion with that portal really helping us, bro.
Never miss.
Now we locked. Yo, that's me, that's me, bro. That's
Searching for a
me.
useful character for 5 seconds, bro. Nah, you got it, bro. You got it, bro. What the fuck was that? Who said that? Rocket? Wait.
Rocket said that?
Let me
Wait, let me try to fix my setting real quick.
ask him what the fuck, bro. Oh, I forgot to fucking spray, bro. God damn it.
Spider-Man.
God damn it.
Okay. Stick. HUD. Hero. Hold to swing. Okay, automatic swing. There it is.
You turned it off?
It seems super helpful when just starting out, as what it does is just by pressing your web swing ability, Spidey will automatically pick a structure to attach to and use that as the anchor point. Having this setting on,
Alright, I just need to do 7 more mutants, bro.
The setting is off, the player must aim at the structure to start the web swing. Wherever the player aims, the web will stick to, provided that it is in range. Having this flexibility will allow you to fly through and maneuver your way around the map and do some crazy fast rollouts, which can come in super clutch when you need a touch point at the last second.
You'll
Another
need a
thing that so
top-notch
unfortunately
team to
stops
win
you from
this
doing
one.
is
The
web
higher
zipping.
the
When
pressure,
aiming below head
the
height,
more
instead of
dazzling
creating
the
a target
diamond.
swing,
Alright.
Spidey will instead web zip himself to wherever your cursor is. Extremely helpful for getting out of sticky situations.
Yeah, you think they're gonna play some mutants for me, bro?
Maybe, maybe not. I swear this is the same team, bro.
Huh?
Oh, never mind.
No.
Look, this-
We had Agent Crow, Paranormic.
I remember Agent Crow. I don't remember
Soulstar
anyone else.
Kira.
Panoramic?
OMG Step Bro. You remember
The White
OMG Step Bro?
Queen always
Or
gets
Storm?
what she wants. At
Oh, yeah,
every
my fault. I
cost.
forgot. Important, guys.
30 seconds
They
before
got
you
Joe
attack.
Mamas.
Get
They got
ready.
Things Happen.
Bro, oh, I didn't.
They got Sheeny G. Or you didn't press save or something, bro?
Costumes.
I did not press save.
James, am I right?
They got Debodge.
I don't fight to hurt people.
Kenzoid.
I fight to heal them.
Oh, I can't change it in the game. I have to do it out of the game. That's so embarrassing.
Really?
Trust me.
The battle starts in 5,
Seems odd.
4.
We not smurfing anymore? We gooning?
2,
Yo, Sabojin in the chat.
All you need to do is capture
Oh,
the
did you not?
area. Got
Oh,
it?
you want real gooning, bro? I'll look up. That's alright. Do they have any mutants on the team?
I was fine, but thank you.
They got some mutants on the team. Okay, let's go.
Move. Let me. Fuck me.
Bomba clap. Oh, I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm not gonna die. Holy W heals. W heals. Oh. Nah, I know you ain't do all that, bro. Oh, you did it again? Oh, shit. Okay, maybe I'm not as sick as I thought.
Oh, fuck.
You
I
tapping
will
gameplay.
have my revenge for that.
Leave them to Khonshu.
What the fuck is that noise?
They are violating me, cuz.
Hey, bro, just keep them distracted, man. That's all I missed. Oh, yo, enjoyed the amplifier. Oh, they disappeared on me. Oh, they're about to
Watch out for that, guys.
Yeah, I'm right away. Bro. Oh my god, I got cooked. Okay, I'll have an ult next time, for sure. So I'm gonna need you to do some damage per second.
And now there's hellfire to pay.
Per minute even.
Are you doing it right now?
No.
Leave them to Khonshu.
I'm just talking about in general, bro.
Your mind is mine.
Man.
I was fine, but thank you.
These guys need help though.
Your mind is mine.
Yo, you keep breaking my fucking shield, man. Quick room for the stream.
Eek! I'm one help. Oh, she about to. Oh,
hell no. Oh my god. I'm dead. But I'll run the next life for sure.
so, yo, score. I fuck you, nigga. Kill that fucking score, bro.
Shit.
This queen's reign isn't
character.
over.
Oh, that's score good. Bro, she be fucking doing that. What's that thing where she traps mans?
When she traps you, bro?
Pregnancies?
Pregnant, huh? Huh? So
That's,
she got you pregnant, bro? Or you got her pregnant, bro?
she trying to get pregnant, bro.
She got you pregnant, bro? They're running from me. They're running from me. Oh,
Oh
they
my
ran.
god, bro.
They ran. Oh.
Shields up. Don't mind me. This could be scary.
Does that count, or do they have to actually get
This
fucking mind
queen's
control,
reign
bro?
isn't over.
Oh. Damn. You guys are doing everything.
You're halfway there. Keep going.
When the hell did she get behind us?
Bro, this one, stupid little.
Outside.
She just violated me.
Oh hell!
I got her.
No. Not the damn shark, bro. Okay.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
Come at me, bitch. Oh shit. That's more people than I thought. That's more people than I thought.
I suppose that helps.
The vehicle reached the checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
Got you, pussy. Yeah.
Oh, you look at the reload for a second. Oh, never
Yeah.
mind.
Fuck all y'all.
Exquisite.
Who want it? Who want it? Who night want
On
it?
God, I'm so lost to that score, girl.
You get her? Oh, nice. You got two. Now you're playing with a purpose, bro. Before you were, you had no purpose.
Yeah, I'm turning up, bro.
Beneath me.
I'm on one. I'm here.
You're positive.
Oh, they want me. They want me dead, bro. They want me dead. Oh, they want me dead.
Switched off all their mutants, bro. What the fuck, man? What am I supposed to do?
Fire mode.
I suppose that helped.
Ooh, it's like you're trying to get cooked, bro. Super what? Super what? Oh, I got it.
Still gonna laugh.
There they are. They look friendly.
Oh, appreciate you.
This queen's reign isn't over.
Fuck this kid.
Is Johnny still in the sky?
I don't know. I'm dead.
I might be dead still.
I think a lot of villains are just
Bro.
hurt and scared. It would be really nice to help them after I
Let him
peel
have
an
it for a
acorn
second.
off
I'm
the
about to
vine.
lock in, bro. Yeah, Johnny's definitely still in the sky, bro.
Johnny's one shot, guys.
Vehicle moving again. Oh, look at that
They're healing Johnny, guys.
tail.
Oh my God, she did it to me again.
Trapped you, bro?
Yeah, bro.
Okay.
No one told me she was anti-dive.
Oh, Mr. Fantastic. got mine.
Oh, Spider-Man's sick now.
Nah, you're sick.
It's a little harder without the automatic swing for
Okay,
sure.
I got you extra damage though.
Appreciate you.
The team up.
Where'd she go? Where'd she go? No, fuck you. I fucking hate Squirrel Girl, bro. Why'd you switch off tank? I don't need the extra damage.
They don't have any mutants on the team, bro.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. Did you do all the Fantastic Four things?
Well, it's the only like main achievement I have left. The other ones are like.
Bro, she got me from here, bro.
One of them I have to alt on Hulk as Doctor Strange.
I'm not done with this fight.
I have to get a.
Let's go, guys.
I have to
Let's
get an assist with Loki as Hela on an enemy Thor.
Guys, come on.
Here come the bad guys.
Some bug shit, bro.
Guys, where are you?
Y'all died, bro. What do you mean?
I killed 3 of them.
Hey, I'm about to ult them, bro. These girls can't leave, bro.
Oh, who, bro?
I'm invisible.
Killed them already.
There's still 3 of them, bro. One of them's in the side. Yo, guys, we're about to lose this game.
The final 10 seconds.
Fantastic!
Fighting until we have
The moon haunts you.
Yo, I'm hitting nothing now. I can't lie.
Moon Knight, you gotta get there, bro. Moon Knight, bro. Moon Knight, you gotta ult, bro. Not over there.
Oh, did we lose, bro? I was about to switch to Doctor Strange. Damn, so I popped off. Go mamas.
Just need more practice, though.
Did I even get one? No.
I want to figure out who you. Let's go through our things.
I have 4 left to do in total. 2 of them are Emma Frost.
2 of them are what?
Emma Frost.
Is one of them to kill a certain person, right? Or is it to team up?
One of them I need an enemy Thor. One of them I need an enemy Hulk, and then one of them I need a team up with Magneto on our team. So that's the only one you can help me.
I'll be Magneto.
What else do you need?
I need better than bro.
If you need anyone with Doctor Strange or Hela, I can do those ones because I still need those.
Okay, let me see. Wait. I can't look at it here. Oh,
My fault.
I can't look at it in the game.
My fault. It was too quick. I took my hand off the mouse for a second.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
The higher the pressure, the more dazzling the diamond.
Thunder Thought. Yo, we got 4 tanks. Let's go.
Hello,
What a nice team. Yeah, what's the best Ice Spice song?
Delhi.
Delhi?
Okay. Now what's the best belly song?
I'm not mad at that answer, bro.
Money
So it's
can't
belly
buy
song?
happiness, but I
Yeah, it's the
can
best belly
afford
song.
Everything else.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
I want to say Bobby Brown.
Alright.
Alcantara is pretty good too. But Pusha... it's got Push on it, so I feel like that's not a... I feel like it's an easy answer.
The battle starts in 5.
How many belly songs could you name, bro?
3, 2,
1.
1. All you need to do is capture the mission area.
Yeah, are you a
Got
fake
it?
belly fan, bro?
Queen.
Nah, I wouldn't say that.
Mother.
You wouldn't say you're a belly fan?
I answer to all three.
Don't say I'm a big one.
It seems we have company.
Belly's sick, bro. Belly got bars.
I suppose that helps.
See Belly's LA Leakers freestyle, bro. Top 5 LA Leaker freestyle all time.
Bro, what's going on?
What's going on is we're getting touched, bro.
Getting melted.
I have
Where's our
9
one healer,
health.
man? Like, what's up with our one healer, bro?
Nah, what's up with our Lord Doctor Strange, bro? This guy's doing nothing, bro. Our fucking Spider-Man's aura walking backwards and dying to their Spider-Man, bro.
Ladies don't go down this easy.
Our ace is 1-0, bro. Oh, what? Okay. We have a portal now. Yo, there you have a squirrel girl and she's kicking us. Can't lie.
I was fine.
Yo, I'm gonna die again. I'm dead.
Emma Frost never surrenders.
Bro, where's your...
What's up, man?
You get your trophy yet?
Did I get my trophy? Nah, bro. I don't have a kill yet. We
Bro,
have 2 kills as a team, bro, and it's just because this guy revived real quick.
We have 3 kills. I have 1.
No, we have 2 kills. Adam Warlock has 2 deaths, bro.
Oh, that's embarrassing.
Bro, why is it every time I'm here I'm fighting for like fucking 1v30, bro?
Some assistance, please.
You know what we gotta do? Me and Dr. Shit just gotta time our shields. Go, guys, go.
Was make me angrier.
Oh, fuck.
Alright, after I use my ult, bro, I'm switching characters.
I'm switching characters too, still.
Yeah, I know, bro. You didn't have to say it. Alright, get this fucking terrorist off my screen. Get this other terrorist off my screen.
I suppose that helps.
I don't even think I'm a threat, bro. Oh, Bumble roster. Live.
We have 4 kills.
Oh my god, I'm fucking.
Don't mess with the amazing.
Oh, I already
Where are
switched.
my heals? Where are my heals?
To my full
Yeah, I was a buddy. I was eating, bro. I was even whispering. Alright.
Look who's here.
Next game.
Why is it every Spider-Man so good except me?
Let's get 6-0. Oh man.
Ours is laughing at us.
Ja.
Alright, we got 1 minute.
I forgot to
We're locked.
I was fine. Thanks.
Oh my gosh.
Our second portal play of the day. Let's turn it up. Turn it up.
Alright, I'm switching characters. Who do we need on the team? Alright, I guess I'm playing Square Bro.
Fucking killed. Oh my god, why am I being?
What does this portal go to, bro?
We just be.
What is this portal, bro? It's not even like a good spot or nothing. It's just some bullshit. Oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
We did it. We saved the city.
Spider-Man out of here, bro, please. Holy shit. Nah, why can't you play like this guy, bro? This guy's moving crazy, bro.
Help get that vehicle to its destination.
Get off my back, bro.
Huh?
Yo. Get off my case. What's up, Reggie? Bro, who's shooting me?
Everybody.
Kill the terrorists in the sky, bro.
Killing the terrorists on the ground, bro. I can't hear the terrorists in the sky. That's all you, bro.
You're getting healed. Oh my god, bro.
Oh my
I'm trying
god,
to deal with this.
bro.
Yeah, I wonder if they fixed the spectating fucking delay.
I don't think that's a bug, bro.
Whatever it is, bro. Fuck that shit.
Don't mess with
What's the clock on your screen?
Spider-Man!
211, 210.
211, 210. Yeah, my shit's at 310. So 1 minute delay. Yeah, that sounds intentional. I wonder what the reasoning would be.
Because you can spectate everybody, like, you know. Shit.
Oh my god.
Oh, true. I guess so. Yeah.
What's the delay on Twitch?
I don't know.
You know a word I don't like?
What?
Squirrels?
Nuance.
Why don't you like nuance?
The Punisher doesn't like it either.
Why doesn't the Punisher like nuance?
Because he likes to think things are black and white.
Oh, yeah, bro.
Shit, it's only good and evil.
Oh, is that what part of his thing?
Yeah,
Oh,
he kills criminals, no matter their story.
but he kills a lot of people.
Yeah, but only the bad people.
Mostly criminals.
Yeah. So, you caught up on the new Daredevil show? Like, I mean, did you start it off?
Nope.
I'm caught up.
Oh, you caught up in here? Like, you finished it?
Yeah.
What you think?
Keep up the momentum.
Bro, it's getting sick. I feel like the setup. I
Yeah, it's good. I don't like the finale that much.
I didn't know where they were going with that at first, but like now that I see, I'm like, alright, I'm excited to where it goes. I feel like the finale, it wasn't really like a finale, it was more like just gonna have like a
More like a what?
cliffhanger type, not even like a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Build up.
But the second last episode, like, that shit was fire.
Yeah. It's like Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
shit, where
bro.
like the second last episode's like the crazy episode, and the last
Ah,
episode's like a
right,
wrap-up,
right.
you know?
Yeah, the last one is like, oh, let's set up the next season. Yeah, I'm not gonna say more without spoiling it for Surfo, but yeah, they saying Spider-Man's on Fraud Watch, bro.
I read it. On the Daredevil show? I read it. Honestly, you can spoil it. I'm not gonna watch it. If you want.
I mean, it's not that big of a spoiler. It's just like Wilson Fisk is running shit, and it's like it's in New York, right? So I was like, yo, what the fuck is Spider-Man doing, bro?
Bro, Spider-Man's probably fucking, he's fighting his own demons, bro. People don't even know he's Spider-Man anymore. Bro had to go get his own suit and shit. Nobody knows.
Because at the end of the last Spider-Man, they tease like, okay, yo, he's gonna be like back to street level type shit, you know, like he said,
No
he's
motion
gonna.
anymore, bro.
Yeah, bro got no motion, yeah.
Before he had Tony Stark, like, internship motion, bro.
Bro, he had Tony Stark making all of his villains too.
Yeah. Now who is he fighting, bro?
Ja.
Oh yeah, we need a Rhino MCU for real. That's my favorite villain.
Oh, yeah, facts. Bro, Sinister Six, bro?
Very menacing villain, bro. Nah, we need the Furious Five.
Who the fuck is that? Oh, it's Spider-Man. Fuck.
That he's on Fraud Watch.
Spider-Man.
11-1, bro.
We're back, right, Tippy Toe?
We're gonna lose this game, guys. Bro, I literally have a mission to win games and we're losing games. Man, she's dead. Where are you? Are you dead? Are you dead?
Dead, bro.
So close. This is a big chance. Double KO.
Somebody get this Johnny Storm back, bro.
Final 10 seconds.
Oh, no, not the Supernova, bro. Please.
Supernova.
You'll have to keep fighting
Bro,
until
this guy Jeff, you need to put the fires out, bro. Please.
I'm not done with this fight yet.
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
You know, I was supposed to run Fortnite with the Boy West Coast, bro.
With the amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, but then he started
was in
ghosting.
the
No, he started ghosting me, bro. Yeah, I don't know what happened with that, bro. I was hyped.
club.
I don't even like Fortnite, bro, but like, yeah, I'll call y'all, bro. You know, we'll make it work.
Oh yeah, we lost.
Oh, you done?
I played terribly.
It's all good, bro. Who'd you play as? Or did you play as everyone?
Everyone.
Okay, one of those.
Magneto, Moon Knight, and then Punisher, bro.
Oh yeah, I was about to say it's Punisher.
7-Eleven.
Why'd you think I randomly said my I hate
Back to basics, bro. That shit always has me crying.
This guy said I hate Spider-Man in the chat.
Man, back to basics, bro. Yeah, how's
Look
your?
at your achievements, bro?
I'm looking.
Alright.
What'd you say?
No, do your thing. I'll finish later.
Invisible Woman?
What's the achievement?
No, which two characters did you need to play with?
I have Emma Frost, Hela, and Doctor Strange. If I play Hela, I need you to play Loki. If I play Emma Frost, I need you to play Magneto. But they have to have a
if you're
Thor
playing
for the
Doctor
Hela one.
Strange, I can be Magic.
Wait, you need a Magneto?
Yeah, as Emma
Yeah, I was
Frost, I
gonna
need
play
to partner
Magneto.
with Magneto to land 1 KO.
Wait, who? Emma Frost?
I have to be Emma Frost, and then someone on the team needs to be Magneto. For this
And then I need to do
for this
1k
war.
damage?
No, I need to do 1 kill. As a,
Oh,
as
okay.
as like a team up, or like not a team up. Like
Oh yeah, the Scarlet Witch team up moved to Emma Frost, right?
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch
Oh,
moved to
okay,
Doctor Strange. Magneto
Oh
moved to Emma
fuck.
Frost.
Oh fuck, man. I used to hate that Wanda team up, bro. So
Wanda-
I'm so glad we don't have that anymore, bro.
Bro, the Wanda team up?
No, that shit had me crying, bro.
We don't even have
Yo,
it
finally
anymore,
I can play Wanda Peace. What does that even mean, bro? You don't want the team up?
It doesn't even change any of your gameplay, bro. It gives you more damage, I swear. That's all it did, is give you more damage.
Yeah, I mean it gives me. It makes Magneto kind of crack, like at least
it
at
helps
range.
Origin, bro.
Nah, the new
Yeah, so
the
why
new
don't
Wanda
you,
team
bro?
up is
Me
so
playing better than you, bro. Like, why you hate?
I'm just hating, bro. It's literally just hating.
I respect that, bro.
The new Wanda team
Yeah,
up
what if
is
they
actually
yo?
cooked, bro.
I wonder if they patched the thing where Magneto can't jump out of here. Oh no, they did patch. Check it out, come around.
Can't alright.
Yo, I can't jump out here. Like I'm literally like stuck. So I thought they would patch that by now, bro. I have to change.
Try that again? Sorry, do that again? I didn't see.
Where are you? Oh yeah, yo, like I'm stuck here. I'm stuck in this corner. I can't jump. Magneto has no.
Can you jump on the shield? No.
Oh, let me see.
Oh,
No. So I have to change my character, move, and then come
All
back.
you need to do is capture the mission area.
Crazy.
Got it?
Yeah.
I mean, Groot could have helped you, I guess. AK Surfell.
I definitely would. Yeah, Groot could have helped.
Yeah, no,
Nah, but it
I
was-
don't
just put
even
you
want
in
to
the
pick, bro. I
game.
just wanted to trap him harder, bro.
I know exactly.
now I'm stuck as Groot, bro.
No, you're not.
I'm stuck
Oh,
as,
oh,
we
you're
have to
stuck.
play.
They have-
Oh, yeah.
We have to play
Okay,
3 tanks
they got
now.
mutants on the team. Let's go.
Okay, wait. Emma Frost can form a mental link.
Yeah,
with
basically you just get
Magneto.
like a double of yourself, and they can like all just use your abilities.
Oh, what the fuck?
And if you use your all of those,
I
like,
figured
it'll
out.
just like attack like a bot for a while.
I suppose that helps.
Not too bad.
Gone. And already forgotten.
Okay, so what's my double doing, bro? Yeah, that got kind of stupid.
He just does what you do, like attack wise, unless you're doing something you can't do, like an ultimate.
Oh, so I was just roasting myself at that point.
Yeah, like when you reload, he reloads too, so like probably don't like reload before, or like reload before you, so, you know, like.
My
reload
crack?
first.
Yo, so my clone has to do the damage, not me, right?
No, I just think you need to like do damage with it. Like get a kill, but like you have to have used it during that kill at some point, I think. Or maybe I need to get a kill while you're using it. I don't actually know.
I was fine. Thank you.
I I think I just got it. If you killed Emma Frost just now.
I did,
I
yeah.
hope that was it.
I don't know.
Alright, let's get the game. Oh, I bricked it. Never mind. I'm eating. I'm eating.
Did you even train?
Don't mess with the amazing
Oh.
Spider-Man!
Bro,
Wait, what the fuck? Why she ulted?
get out of here, bro.
So
Bruh.
Bro, I was not prepared for that ult.
So easily, I'm afraid.
Mr. Moji Ryzen.
We must not yield.
Bro, they're all farming, bro. Yes.
To Khonshu! Bring on the chaos!
Yeah, we lost the control.
Okay.
Dog, please stop ulting, bro. Fuck this game.
We got a Luna Snow ult on our side. Why is she on damage mode?
As if I wasn't strong enough.
Put the shield down. Hell no. Yeah, get over here. Get over here. I missed.
The area's almost yours.
Now's the part where you thank me. I suppose that helped.
Here, bro. Let's fuck him up, bro. Behind you.
Fucking them up. We're fucking them up. Get these squishies. They running.
Yeah, hey, she in the corner.
Oh, that slept.
Nah, you good.
You're silent, bro.
Where's she at?
Man, she ran.
Yeah, she missed it.
No.
Yeah, she confused. That's so funny.
Venom's on point.
Oh, yeah.
Nah,
Let's
he's
fuck
dead.
him up.
No, he's not.
Spider-Man.
Look at that. Back
got
to
him.
basics, bro. Surfa got it, man.
Back to basics.
I'm about to get lawyered on Punisher, bro. Man's gonna stop laughing.
No, you're not, bro.
Man's gonna stop laughing once I get this lawyered.
Yeah, I'm probably Lord of Magneto.
The White Queen
never
always
checked.
gets what she wants. At any cost.
Lord Magneto. I'm almost Lord
You
Squirrel,
know what word
bro.
I hate?
I'm Lord on Warlock. I checked that one, so it's... Wait, what do you hate, bro?
30 seconds before you
Nuance.
attack.
Yeah, bro, why nuance, bro? Nuance is sick.
No, that's a good word,
That's
bro.
Punisher,
In terms
bro.
of words, bro, that's like a...
Oh, yeah, never mind. We had this whole conversation before, bro. I forgot.
No, but in terms of words, bro... Wait, is it French or English? It's probably French, bro.
Nuance. It sounds...
Boo.
Yeah, it sounds like Latin or French, yeah.
Gizmo.
Gizmo.
Ooh.
Gadget, bro? Gizmos and gadgets, bro? Holy
Battle
man.
starts in 5,
Gizmo is with gadgets.
3, 2, 1.
Keep my hand on the ratchet.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Please. I've faced
Yeah, the Sam and
This
Frost team up
season's
is...
tragic.
I mean, at a glance...
Dragic.
Dragic.
Dragic. Talking shit like I'm Dragic.
Kicking shit like I'm drunk, bro.
Look who's here.
Paul Pogba. They have a Warlock?
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Does that help?
Give her hands. Oh, never mind. No more. No more. You can't fly forever, bye-bye.
Behind you, behind you.
Oh, there is. They're everywhere. Like this.
Yeah, these... I was about to say that where the fuck are the healers, but we're looking mad far from point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the healers are behind us, bro, like in our side. They're healers.
All they did was make me angrier.
Well, they switched
Don't
off
mess
Psylocke.
with the
so I guess
amazing
I'm switching
Spider-Man!
characters. Actually, I guess I'll stay. Gotta use my ult. Oh, they got the point?
Yeah, bro.
I thought we were cruising. Bro.
Nah.
I thought shit was sweet, bro. My fault.
Oh, y'all saved me. Yeah, get that ass, bro.
Just leave it to me.
Oh, yo, Mantis about to rev.
Yeah, the Warlock's about to rev too.
Oh, yo, watch the balcony. Watch the balcony. If he knows the spot.
I can't jump that high.
No. You just need to shoot it down.
Can he float though?
We're nearby you.
You were beneath me.
He did cool.
Oh my god.
Oh, Bomba.
He's dead.
He gone.
Leave them to Khonshu.
Yo, help me. Fucking love you.
That Punisher is going crazy, bro.
And now there's hellfire to pay.
Oh, the balcony's down. Let's go. Alright, yo, we cooking.
You've captured more than half of the mission area. We are undefeatable!
Mental domination.
Mutant kind. Bring on the chaos.
Oh, okay.
There's my way.
Okay. Just flying around right now. I'm going in.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man.
What is this guy? One shot, bro. He's one shot. He's
Oh, he over there. Oh, fuck.
Born again.
Are we back?
No, the board again was on the team, bro.
Oh no, I got Rocket revived.
Oh, you got Rocket revive? Yo, fuck, bro. Oh, we got a point. We're chilling.
Spider-Man's won.
Yo, right.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yours disgusting.
What a good game, guys.
Where the fuck are they?
They're dead.
Man.
Oh, y'all turned up, bro.
Nah, you did good, bro. You got a KD of 3.
Mmm.
Another epic victory!
Yeah, just another epic victory, bro. You know how it go.
Big win. Good game, guys.
Did you get the achievement, Munir?
About to find out. Yes.
Let's
Nice.
go.
Alright, now
Love
I
that
just
for you,
need
bro.
to use my ult on 5 more mutants as Emma Frost. Eye of Agamotto Hulk. And kill Thor as Hela with Loki as my teammate.
Is Wanda a mutant? Yeah, right?
Yeah. No, she's not.
Pick your hero.
Actually, does she count? I don't know if she counts.
I'm not
And yeah, that's what I was thinking. In Rivals, I don't know.
The higher the pressure, the more dazzling the diamond.
I mean, she's immune and everything, I'm
Wanda
pretty
definitely
sure.
counts. Wanda definitely counts, yeah. I'm just thinking if it counted.
She's enhanced.
No, she's definitely a mutant, though. Magneto talks to her like she's a mutant, so.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good point. There's always space for you on Krakoa. I'll never let Krakoa
Why
suffer
you
the
say it
same
like
fate as
Galactica,
Genosha. I fucking hate that fish, bro. Fuck.
The White Queen always
They're capturing the mission. See that, bro?
cost.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
30 seconds before you attack.
Get ready.
I hear you're a hard case. Real tough guy.
I don't play favorites, and I don't.
Alright, we got 4 DPS.
Never cut anyone a break.
That's what I like to
They
see.
got Fat Juice WRLD on the other team, bro. Oh, my game
Fat
crashed.
Juice WRLD? Ooh, that's big.
My game
No
crashed.
way.
Fuck. Where's the icon? Where's the Marvel Rivals icon?
You can come back.
Come on.
Yeah,
I need this game.
your high key just like frozen on my screen.
What are you talking about?
My game crashed.
I mean, just game crashed. But I think you can come back.
Anti-cheat starting. Hold on.
Anti-cheat.
On the PC, you don't see that kind of shit, bro. Shaders are compiling,
Facts.
bro. Yo, compile faster, bro, please. Yo, what are you gonna do if you're in the Gooning Olympics and then you prematurely ejaculate, bro?
If you're in the what Olympics?
The Gooning Olympics, bro.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, where do I sign up?
No,
Like, why does it gotta be hypothetical? Yo, why is this team playing so weird, bro? Fucking step out. What the fuck?
I died.
Oh, Manir, really, you're not even in the game yet, bro. But
no, I'm
I don't think their team has even left spawn, bro. They're just chilling in like a room.
They're chilling in a room?
Like,
The White Queen.
like we're playing
They
Dom,
were playing
right?
against bots, bro. I ain't gonna lie. They were playing bots.
Fat Juice WRLD's
Yeah,
a bot
bro,
to
they're
you?
playing so weird, bro.
It's either that or they're really bad. Like they've never played this game before.
Yeah, like, why the fuck are they play? They're not going for point at all.
Maybe they're lost, bro. Maybe they're just having fun, guys.
Yeah, we're just having fun, right? Damn, Fat Juice WRLD got me, not gonna lie.
Isn't that just Dave Blunt's?
Fine, but thank you.
Hey, come on, man.
Hey,
Dave Blunt's actually has talent.
What?
Johnny Storm is such a shitty character,
Yeah,
bro.
I'm just saying
Johnny
shit,
Storm
bro.
he's good
I agree.
sometimes, bro.
I feel like Iron Man is better, bro, as a flying character.
Oh my god, they have a Hulk?
Hey, because Johnny
We
Storm's
have a Hulk.
half a dive character, bro. You gotta use him usefully.
I guess so.
They buffed him a little bit. He gets extra health when he dives now.
They buffed him again?
Oh, I don't know about again, but they buffed him when this
Oh.
season started.
Yeah, where's Hulk, bro?
He's dead, bro. He's coming back from spawn.
Is Magic immune? Magic immune, right?
Yeah, Magic Immune.
The area's almost yours.
Sure. I'm just gonna make sure I know who.
Yeah, fuck this. Yeah, let's go.
Oh, that's not good.
How am I supposed to say they're bad, bro? I'm 0-3. I'm not having a good game, bro.
I mean, they're bad if you're 0-3 and you're still winning.
They're not. Oh, they're on point. Yeah. Hey, I didn't know they knew about the point. Oh, they're getting buddies. Oh fuck.
Oh fuck, they're getting bodies.
Yeah, I know they had it in him, out of him.
Oh, that was ours. Where's all my health? Where's all my health? I didn't even get to use my ult.
Hey man, you keep it, bro.
I'm saving it for Magic.
The only thing stronger than my skin is my mind.
It ain't easy, being
Yo, this has to be a bot, right? Like PKJ.
30 seconds before you
That's a
attack.
bot, right?
Ready?
Yo, if we all stand here, will we block him from going here?
Hi, Miss Frost. I just wanted to tell you.
Probably not.
A huge fan.
I mean, I'm not a tank, but
Is a fan. How unexpected.
She says she likes the way you smile.
Oh no, he replied in chat, bro.
Okay.
Starts in 5,
Ways to shine.
4, 3, 2.
stick drift. Okay, that's actually pretty.
Area. Got it.
That's some bad stick drifts. Holy. This
Oh,
early?
I pressed the ult button by accident.
Oh wait, was that you?
No, but she did it. But it was okay because it was Magic who did it. And that's who we needed to kill anyways. Bitch. Oh, she's gonna get my. No, she's gonna be.
Looks like the
I
missionary
still might get this,
has
though.
to capture now.
That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Is the day going in, bro? Ooh.
Where's our healer, bro? Where's our healers, bro?
What healers, bro?
Healer, bro. Singular.
Bro, he's in plural terms.
my
They
God.
captured the mission area?
Yeah,
I'm actually
this guy's
shocked.
locked in, bro.
Yo, our Punisher's out there, bro. I thought it was user for not gonna lie.
King Panther 3.
No, that's a good player. I'm not good, bro.
Player, he's 4-4, bro. I guess you're 1-4. Never mind. Yeah, okay. Oh, they have Psylocke on the team now. Yo, that's another mutant for me. Oh, it's the same person. That's fuck. It's only one mutant still.
But thank you.
Bitch. Let me farm. Let me farm my numbers on there.
Oh, he actually cooked.
Nah, he didn't cook shit, bro.
Gone.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, she canceled my ult.
Wait, how did she cancel your ult? What?
She grabbed me. I'm still at 100. I'm still at 100. Good shit, circle. Oh, I'm losing it.
Who killed me? Oh, it was Magic.
Keep going.
These guys are shit, man.
Here, I could go for a pick-me-up.
Oh, you died?
Oh, yo, they're getting buddies. They're getting buddies. Oh. Wait, that's us getting buddies. I'm stupid.
Bro, you had me panicking. He's my ult for no reason.
My fault, my fault.
Glory is almost yours.
Where is everybody going?
Bomba. I'm dead.
Nice.
Yeah, they're getting the point, guys.
Are they actually?
Cash for the point, bro. Control.
Oh, they got the
lock.
point! Fuck, fuck, fuck!
What are you guys doing?
Yeah, that... Be winning their silo, bro. Like, to be winning. And then they just hide us
Oh,
and
they're
cap
all on
the
the
point.
point now. What the fuck? Oh shit, I'm so cooked.
Surfer, what'd you just do to me? What the fuck?
Oh, damn.
Show me do it again.
Oh, bro. Oh, bro.
Who the fuck are you?
Fucking Winter Soldier, bro.
Keep fighting until we have a winner.
Okay, the shark's trying to get some motion.
Did he get anyone?
He hasn't done it yet.
Oh.
Okay, well, I guess it did too late. That was definitely one of the games of all time.
One of a game.
Do you know how embarrassing it is if we thought that they were bots and they weren't? Yeah, healer locked in, bro.
Squirrel Girl diff. Squirrel Girl said Squirrel Girl diff. They didn't even have a Squirrel Girl.
What?
Then why'd you what?
Who said Squirrel Girl this?
Our Squirrel Girl said that. Bro, she
Yeah,
doesn't even
Squirrel
have the
Girl,
most
yeah,
damage.
They needed a Squirrel Girl. She has the least damage. Oh, no. Yeah, out of the DPS, she has the least damage. What the fuck? Shout out our Punisher.
Shout out
Our
Punisher.
Punisher was punishing for real, bro. Alright, 4 more mutants.
Ah,
Alright, run it back, run it back.
let's run there. Let's run there.
I can't. I'm not the leader anymore because I just DC'd. Circle's leader. Alright, who we got on the team?
Yo, y'all see the Hawks game today, bro? That shit was lit.
They went with
Yeah, that
two.
shit was lit. I watched it.
Oh, you did? Yeah. The ending was fire.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
We got Whomper on the team. We got Exertix on the team.
The higher the pressure,
Arcturix?
the more dazzling the
Arcturix.
dice.
7 of secrets. 7 of secrets. Interesting. Alright. We got a Punisher, bro. We're good.
Mmm.
Unlike some X-Men, I don't care who hates and fears me.
Like a shepherd having sex with
Coming
a
in
sheep.
30 seconds. Stay strong.
Fuck what you heard.
Mmm. That's such an awful line, bro.
No, that's a goat, bro.
That's an awfully hot coffee pot. Yo, so when's Blade coming to this shit, bro? They're teasing this motherfucker too much.
Bro, give me Ultron first,
The
bro.
battle starts in 5.
So I guess Blade's a season 3 guy.
2.
Yeah, he's probably coming with
You
the.
have to stop them from
Phoenix,
securing
bro.
the mission area.
Oh, Phoenix? Phoenix is. I don't know if Phoenix was in the queue.
Phoenix is in the queue. They got some fucking motherfuckers in
I
the queue.
suppose that helps. Gone.
Professor X,
Already
bro.
forgotten.
Oh, Professor X.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yo, they're capturing the point, guys.
No, they're not. You're lying to me. Cause that's kind of embarrassing. Yeah, they're gonna kill me. Don't kill me. Oh, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Yo, get this Iron Fist out of here, bro.
Yeah, look, he cooked me. Not gonna lie to you.
Bro, they kill. I'm just trying to twerk and they're killing me, bro.
Yeah, what the fuck? That's fucked up.
That's
Yo,
fucked up.
what is it, gay?
Don't ever kill a twerker, bro.
I said, Venom, can you please shake the ass?
Shake the ass from me.
Yo, this Hawkeye's
I've
got
been
a
geeked
crazy
up in this
crosshair,
bitch
bro.
since 11. It's past
Can't
3.
be rid of
If you ever
me
get a
so
chance to
easily.
Can you
spectate
get up
Hawkeye,
off
bro,
my
look at his
dick?
crosshair, bro.
Yeah, I see that, see that.
That guy's,
That's a serious Hawkeye, bro.
that guy's cooking something nasty, bro.
Yeah, I need to restart my router or some shit, bro. I don't know why I'd be lagging sometimes.
Oh, okay, then. Oh, this bitch got the health pack. I was trying to get that.
No.
Oh, I fucking bricked it.
Ooh, a touch of
Why did I do
Here
that?
dropping.
Oh, Jeff's about to eat, bro.
Alright, Jeff?
He ate
This
one
game's
person,
reign
yeah.
Isn't over.
But
At least he
but
ate.
Venom, bro. So that's like the.
Think he 8? He ain't even 7.
He's one? Oh.
Oh my god, I am having an awful game, bro.
Hell no. Yeah, I'm so cooked.
Oh no.
Okay, we got 5 alts. Okay, we got 2 alts.
I suppose that helped.
Damn, we ulted here. That's how you know we're getting cooked.
There's still a chance to stop them.
Second chance is over.
Snow.
Oh fuck.
Coochie, coochie, coochie. Oh. How are you still
Bro.
alive?
We need more tanks, bro.
Unnatural, bro. How are you still alive?
My Venom is so bad, bro.
Where's my team? Holy, I'm fighting.
No, we getting buddies, we getting buddies. We turn it up,
I'm
let's
fighting
go.
2 healers on the point by myself, bro.
Yeah, you only ones, bro.
Let's heal each other. I fucking 1 health. There we go, I got my assist.
And now there's
Let's go in
hellfire
here.
to pay.
Bro, out of all the characters to nerf, why the fuck did they nerf Warlock, bro?
Rise, my friends.
I'm doing this my way.
Took 6.5 minutes? No, these are the best games, bro. We were saying. This is when we start locking in, you know?
I hope so. Oh shit. Oh shit. Yeah, I might be dead here. Oh, never mind, man. Just saved my life.
I have no doubt in my mind we're gonna win this game, bro.
Nah, I'm dead.
I'm about to die any second, bro. How am I alive? I was alive way too long there.
Never surrenders.
Alright, I got my ult.
Better stop that vehicle.
Oh, everybody's dead. What the heck?
I am born anew. No, it's so funny. You're Penny Parker. Where did you switch, dog?
When did I switch? I've been pretty part of this whole time. What are you talking about?
No, you're not, bro.
Bro, I was.
Alright, get me out of here, bro.
I was Penny Parker this whole time.
Yeah, you're who, bro?
I do the right thing unless the wrong thing is more fun.
Alright, Surfall.
Yo, the Iron Fist is weak. Let's go.
This is a
You hold
nice
it down.
spot. Leave them to Khonshu.
Hold it
You're
down, right.
ready for action. See, I'm flunking help.
This is punishment.
I just got more dangerous. Ready for a boost? I'll patch you up.
Yo, it's cap point. I don't think we have yet, have we?
We do.
Just dying.
Oh, we did? Okay, perfect.
Bro, what you
Yo, get
think
that
you're
iron
doing?
fist.
Bro, what do you think you're doing? Fuck out of here. I'm gonna walk him down machine right now.
Let's go in here. Yeah, let me stand back, bro. I'm kind of wildin'. Yeah, bro, we lock it in. Only 3.5 minutes now.
We're gonna
go.
have one left. Okay. Holy iron fist. Oh, we're back. We're back.
I'll patch you up.
Oh shit. Oh shit, we live?
Second chances.
Yeah, I got it.
This is a nice spot. Someone scratch my back.
Oh my god.
Yo, where? Yeah, did the guy just put his turn up in the middle of the fucking battlefield? What the fuck? What the hell was that?
That's some circle shit for sure, bro.
Oh, I'm gonna get some revenge.
The stuff always trolling. Now he's locked in.
This is a nice spot. You're welcome. This is real firepower.
Oh hell no. Bitch.
Iron fist.
Fighting my own demons right now. Can't lie to you.
I'll deploy another beam.
There was snow.
Okay, there's a cloak and dagger on the left.
Squirrel somewhere behind us. Never mind.
Oh, rocket.
Venom's back.
Rocket
back. I'm melting him. Alright.
He's dead.
Melting him across.
Good shit, bro. Oh, rocket. Oh, we're 3 healer?
Oh, okay, I died.
I didn't book that.
I think the Punisher's eating off.
Iron fist is about to pop out on our right.
Punisher's about to eat off the team.
Heads up. Hostile rockets. Launch it again.
Yo, guys, I need help with the iron fist.
Where are you?
Nice spot.
Behind us. Oh, thank you. That was actually very helpful.
Patch you up.
He stopped them in their tracks.
Cloak and dagger's off.
Against the world.
Yeah, doing all that again.
I am ready to put on a show.
Okay.
Okay.
Gonna live through these.
Give me the back. I'll patch you up.
Live.
Yo, we got so many Namorscos in here, bro. This shit has me crying. Yo, you got Penny and you got Namorscos, bro. This is anti-dive.
We got a fucking turret, bro.
I'll patch you up.
Yeah. We're
We just
chilling,
walk
dog.
them down, bro. Holy.
45
Still alive,
seconds.
bro? Get out of here, bro.
Damn, they thought they had this, bro. They really thought they ate sis.
See? I'm
Gagged them.
What is it? What is it? But, oh, yo, Cap.
30 seconds.
He's gonna be a bitch to kill. Oh, that got me?
firepower.
I'm
Good
back.
cap.
Ooh, that's big for them.
What happened? Oh, they got portal. Oh. Cap's dead. Oh, I'm dead. Iron Fist is low. Oh, born again. Let's go.
You'll have to keep fighting until we have a
Does that only get you? That's kind of whack. It's all good. At least you're
That's
back.
the only person you needed, bro.
Yeah, I was about to say if I only got one person, I'm glad it's you, bro. Yeah, we left.
Bro, you did not.
What?
You ain't have that energy when I died, yo.
Hey, we got the dub, bro. Let's be.
Is he flexing it? Oh, that's our team still. My fault.
That's our guy. That's our Punisher.
Let's
I thought the loser team was flexing 30 kills. I was about to say,
that's one of the best Punishers I've ever seen, bro.
Today, for sure.
Today's, for sure.
Oh, they only had one healer at the end? Oh, did they have one healer the whole game?
Oh
No,
no.
they had, no.
They had Cloak and Dagger and
they
Lucio.
ran through healers.
Oh yeah, they did. Yeah, they had Cloak and
I
Dagger.
swear they had a Mantis at 1.2.
We had a Mantis at one
We
point.
definitely had a Mantis. I don't know if they had a Mantis.
Open your
Alright, let's
eyes.
hope they have a
Reality is but an
Hulk on their
illusion.
team. If not, I'm switching immediately. Yo, Surfo, you wanna play?
Yeah, Surfo, play tech.
Oh, Danny Devon.
Last time we tried this, it did not work.
This is lit. No. I
RJ,
like
we
this.
tried this earlier today before you came. We were struggling.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but we
Wait,
didn't
like
have
4
RJ.
tech?
There's only one
Yeah, you didn't have me playing Groot specifically.
Yeah, Groot can like Loki heal himself a little bit too, and so can and the thing. So
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
Wait, the thing
I
can
can heal
heal
myself?
yeah, if you land your charge up punch, you get health back.
That's news to me, bro.
Yeah, it was news to
that's not
Alan
about to happen, bro.
too. When I told Alan, I'm like, bro, this is why your accuracy's so dog shit, bro. You're just swinging and waiting for nothing, bro.
Well, in that case, let's just
And he only used the right click, bro.
the battle starts in
Could be
5,
so much more effective.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Surfo, can you come on? Surfo, go. What you doing? Surfo, we got a game to play, bro.
I'm about to die, bro.
Yeah, we got a game to play, bro.
Yeah, get in here, bro. Yo, we're waiting for you, bro.
I got you, bro. Surfo, man, why are you trolling, bro? Lock it in.
You're always trolling, bro.
I'm tired of this dude,
Have
bro.
to portal him in next time, bro.
I'm done, bro. Fuck this tank shit, bro.
Yeah, I think you gotta play Venom, bro. I think we need you as Venom. Why, bro? I keep forgetting the thing is immovable, bro. That's so bullshit.
Supreme lives once more.
What are you trying to move him with, like the wall?
The Groot punch. Groot, if you have 3 melees in a row, the third one like kind of launches them in the air.
Oh yeah.
And Magneto, you can like push them back with one of your abilities. Yeah, and that doesn't work on thing.
But nah, dashing him with Thor, bro, this motherfucker just turns my camera around.
Creatures of
Oh, why's it clobbering me, bro? Chill.
Yo,
Does not want me to touch the
We
ground.
hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to
who
stop.
got me, bro? I bet. You know what this is? You know what this is, bro? This is the part where we start to lock here because our backs against the wall, bro.
No,
No. One more.
Oh yeah, facts.
Bro,
Oh yeah,
I still
we
haven't
gotta
even-
troll
I
them more.
haven't switched off my character. They don't have a
bet.
bro. Hold on. Alright, who do we need, guys? Who does the team need? Fuck
Yo,
it,
Thor's weak.
Alright, I'm gonna be the thing.
Thor's dead, yeah.
Let me do it to him, to him. 6,
They've made it
5
halfway.
minutes.
Stop them.
Stop them.
Oh fuck that, no more. Actually got me.
Alright, I'm
We are
across him.
undefeatable.
Wait, I didn't realize Nomura's hit radius is that big. What the fuck? He did not land the shots.
Oh, what the hell?
Damn it.
Oh, my health. Oh, I might be dead here. I'm not dead here.
Damn, Arjun. Let someone with Samsung phone.
You're not having
Oh yeah,
fun,
my fault. We're supposed to be trolling, right?
Yeah, I didn't even get the second point yet. Relax.
Oh, facts.
What is this lock-in, bro?
Oh shit, let's go. What else? That thing was struggling, bro.
I'm the thing, bro. Chill.
No, the other team.
thing.
Other
Oh,
team.
the one that died.
No, you're good.
I was like, what? What's going on, man? Benji's here.
Get that from here.
Yeah, me versus the world right now, bro.
I need assistance.
Can't get rid of me.
Damn. What happened to the
Damn,
team?
there no more does not like me, bro. Oh wait, oh fuck, were we trolling again? Wait, so many bodies.
I think we're trolling again, bro.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised like it wasn't just like spawn camping though.
Yo, fuck this squid, bro. Squid game?
Yo, I'm hiding. Damn, no
I'm
dude.
on the point.
Yeah, see?
Oh, okay. I'm swinging haymakers only. We're doing everything in their power.
Behold the god of
It's like the third ult. Okay, everybody's ulting. Oh, what the hell happened to my health, bro? Damn, that got no kills? Alright, let's stop trolling for a second. No, actually, we can still troll for like 2 more minutes.
Yeah. Oh wait, did they get the checkpoint? Oh fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, bro. I've just been chilling in their spawn like the whole game. I don't know why. I don't know what I gained from this.
And that's one of the strategies of all time.
Yeah, it's not very fun when they have a no more and those squids always come from me, bro.
Oh, she slapped me in my ult. That Rappy Tappy's locked in. He hasn't said a word, bro. And he's muted on Discord.
It's now. Stop them. Shields up. We are undefeatable.
Holy, bro. Chill. It's clobbering time. It's clobbering time, bro.
Behind you, dude.
I'm dead. They got me.
ready to keep on rocking.
Alright, I think it's time to lock in, guys. Guys.
This thing's trying to solo me, bro. Ah!
Oh, I'm so cooked. Oh my god. Where's the teammate? Oh, I'm cooked. What the hell am I hearing, bro?
What the fuck is happening? Oh. Okay, now it's time to lock in, right, guys? Okay, it's time to lock in now, guys. We have one tank in here. Let's see.
Okay, so no shield tank. Get this bitch. Alright, we're just gonna hold this for 3 minutes.
Taking less damage.
Hey, it's not something we haven't been doing, bro. Watch the thing, watch the thing.
Another day in the league, bro.
Oh!
Oh,
Yo, damn,
fuck.
that healer locked in.
Oh, fuck.
Yo,
Make way.
We are undefeatable. Stop them in their tracks.
oh, big ult.
The god of thunder.
All canceled, let's go. No.
Bro, what the fuck?
They're getting motion. They're getting motion.
Fire mode.
You kidding? I think I'm trouble.
You need help.
The dragon unleashed.
No. Oh, that's ours.
Oh hell no. Oh hell no. Oh hell no. Oh hell no.
Yeah, the rockets are raced.
I'm ulting
Oh,
on
big,
that.
big, 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 big.
Nice. That's big. That's big.
Only 60 seconds left.
Oh, stay back, stay back, stay back. Okay, cloak. Let's go, Manir, Manir, Manir. Get the ass, get the ass. Let's fucking go.
We're eating. We're eating. We're eating.
Yeah, Manir, come back, come back, come back, come back.
I need someone like in my path. Okay.
Okay, let's go. You're good, you're good.
We are
Alright.
undefeatable.
Back up. Back up. Back up.
Yeah, go back, go back. We're soul bonded. Let's still go back. Ah! Yo, this thing don't like me, bro. Fuck me, bro. Surfer, are you Penny? Oh, fuck. Come on, that's too late.
I'm gonna die here. Oh, I didn't die. I'm stuck on a fucking wall. No, I died.
Born again.
Born again. Oh shit. Oh shit.
It's clobbering time.
The hell? Okay, okay. We still got motion.
Holding them off the point for behind them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Okay, yo, it's just you on the point right now.
I'm about to
No,
die.
back, come back. No, you're not, no, you're not. We're soul bonded.
I almost have my ult.
How did I get a race so fast?
Oh my god. That's not good either. No, I died in my ult. Fuck. Somebody touched the point. Somebody touched the point. Invisible woman.
We're here, we're here, we're here.
Oh, that's not good.
This is real
That's
firepower.
No.
No.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
Damn.
Bro, what the fuck was that, bro?
That's so tough. I think Arjun trolled a little too hard.
Yeah, that was not a good game for me, bro.
There was one point where I died. I'm like, bro, do the thing, and you're Iron Man, bro.
No, there's one time you died. Get you, but then someone was chasing. Honestly, I should have just done it anyways, brother. You died instantly.
It was close. It was close.
Yeah, I think this is my last one still.
Did Memphis be thing, yeah?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, they did.
Pick your hero.
Damn, Dallas was more competitive than I expected, though. Not gonna lie.
They made it competitive. Shit was like 50-24 when I left.
I mean, they lost by 14, but they won the first game against the Kings. I don't think they do that.
Oh, no, the Kings are bad, bro.
Yeah,
You're a bonus hitter, ain't you?
Am I don't know, man. I mean, I don't even think there's much hate, bro. Like, people don't rate him that much anymore. Who? It's a bonus. Oh, AD had 40.
Domas.
It's a boner.
Unlike some X-Men.
My boy Najee Marshall at point guard. That's what we like to see. How did the Grizzlies fall to 8, bro. I swear they were like,
Get ready.
Second.
yeah.
But
Damn.
the shit was always so competitive, bro. Like it's one game separating like 3 to 8, bro.
Yeah, facts.
Like if they won, they could be the 3rd place right now.
Yeah. Tomorrow we got some good games. Bucks, Pacers, Clippers, Nuggets. Oh, Lakers, Timberwolves at 8:30. That looks lit.
That's the game to watch, honestly.
Battle starts
Yeah.
in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is
I'm about to show you a master class.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to play, but like one of the other guys, he was Lord Fuck and he was about to select his thing, so I just took it from him.
The Lord Warlock, bro.
Yeah.
Some uninvited guests. I was fine, but thank you.
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
Oh my god.
I'll look his bitch ass out of here.
Fuck Spider-Man go.
Mental domination. Now's the part where you thank me. Switcher's toy is impervious. I was fine, but thank you. You were beneath me.
These real people, bro. We're literally walking them down right now.
Defend our
Oh,
territory.
they're capturing the point? What the hell? Who that is?
No, they're not.
Who that is? Who that?
I'm in here wildin' much.
Oh, I'm walking the wrong way. That
I'm
makes a
using
lot
my
more
soul bond
sense.
just for you, bro.
That makes a lot more sense, bro. Alright, I'm
Captured more than half of the
Oh, I
mission
died
area.
anyways. So
Keep
I got me.
going.
Yeah, no, I was definitely walking the wrong way. I'm like, why am I not getting closer to the team?
I'm back.
I was walking towards their
There's
spot.
hellfire to pay. Our
Is
side
this?
is lacking
What other
in
guy?
numbers.
Not a master class. Oh, crazy. Crazy.
Just for you, bro. Just for you, bro.
Appreciate you,
That I wasted my all just for you.
Oh my god. I left her just.
It's all good. I just saw my kill feed, bro. As soon as she hit, I just see you fly away.
Who the fuck is Spider?
Where's Spider-Man, bro?
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Oh, he's so lit.
Yo, what? Oh, he was so weak. Oh,
He was
mad he got me.
Yo, this mantis is disrespecting me, bro. I stood in front of her. She didn't hear me.
Where are you?
Yeah, mantis deserve that stuff. Chica Chawa? Chico Town Hall?
That's racist.
That's gotta be racist.
That's not racist.
The White Queen always gets
What about
she
it is not
wants
racist.
at any cost.
Is that this right?
Oh, right.
30 seconds
No,
before
you told me,
attack.
bro.
Get ready.
You think the Heat can get a game off the Cavs?
What troubles you so?
Honestly, he didn't 3, bro.
Why is that? You're big believer in Tyler Hero and Kevin Love?
Duncan Robinson as well.
Duncan Robinson as well. Oh, man, how could I forget?
Or is it 50% of Duncan Robinson? I don't know.
Nah, the Duncan Robinson is definitely
Got it?
one of the nice ones.
I was a prisoner of the
I think he's.
Yeah,
100%
that's how I felt about Logic for a while.
White boy summer.
But then I learned.
on the
Wait, that logic was 100% white?
You thought Bobby biracial was 100% white, bro?
Hey man, at one point he was just like under pressure logic, bro. He was a cool dude.
I'm sure he's still a cool dude, but you know, ever since I heard that that Caterpillar remix verse, bro.
Hey man,
The same, man.
yeah, he's just played by Cardi better, bro. You wouldn't understand.
Didn't I send that to the group chat, bro?
No, it's been known. I swear, that's been a known thing for like a while. He's like, you're trying to make some play by Cardi music. Everyone's like, yo, please no, and then he's just doubling down.
Honestly, bro, I respect that, bro. For one to stop trying for a bit, I respect it.
Bro, hasn't he retired like twice now?
Who hasn't retired? Who should retire?
Who's someone that should
Kanye
retire?
West?
Nas? Has Kanye ever retired? I don't think he
He
has.
should, bro.
Yeah, Donda, go to retirement album, bro.
Spider Swift.
Yeah, this motherfucking Spider-Man just pulled me off the map, bro.
Oof.
And now there's hellfire to pay.
So, see, that's the type of game you're having.
We're
Kill
doing
him,
great,
bro.
bro. I know what you're talking about. Ooh, kill him. Ooh, kill him. Ooh. Let's get him, Terrio.
Underrated
Yo,
song, bro.
Squirrel Girl. I actually hate Squirrel Girl, bro. If you play Squirrel Girl, you're a pussy, bro. I'm sorry.
Nah, I feel that still. I'm so bonded, bitch. You can't get me. Oh, wait, no, but if you with another ult, you can.
How many ults do they got, bro?
Why are you just jumping, bro?
Bro, what? I have no one.
Oh,
Yo, you're out of Warlock. You can
I'm what? I can what?
get
What do you
fly.
want me to do? No, I can't, bro.
Can't fly.
Out of Warlock, bro. I've watched the MCU. They got fly through space.
He was
Name me
doing
one of
that.
MC. Name in the movie. Name one. Abilities, bro.
Bro, he had that beam.
Team's capture progress.
Cause I don't even know what it is.
Bro, he had them eyebrows, bro.
He had the eyebrows.
Yeah, because he was Will Poulter, bro. Bro, I'm gonna die here. Nobody's healing me. Oh, born again. Yo, am I gonna die immediately this time too? Yo, he's
No,
gonna
I
die
got you. I
now.
got you. I got you.
I think I got intel.
With the amazing Spider-Man!
This fucker. Finally, I got a kill, guys.
Good shit, bro.
11 and how am I in the ace, bro? I feel like I haven't done anything this round at all.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, Surfle's actually.
I'm about to wipe all of them. I'm about to wipe all of them. Watch.
Why'd you switch characters, bro? Oh, no, you didn't. Oh,
I,
you did.
yo, get on point, bro.
Yeah, I'm working on it, man.
I'm starting off with her. Someone on point.
Did you solo alt scroll roll, bro? Is that what you did?
I mean to.
The way you've been speaking, bro, I think that's exactly what you meant to do, actually. Oh, man.
Bro, how many times the bitch go off, bro?
Let me run it away so quickly.
Oh,
Yo, they're at 99%, bro. Don't let them get touch
yeah,
point.
they're gonna touch the point.
They're about to touch point, fam.
They're touching the point as we speak.
Emma Frost never
Your
surrenders.
healers-
I tried my best, bro.
your
They just
singular
got
healer
healed.
is dead right now. Yo,
What happened to Adam
control
Warlock, bro?
Keep fighting.
Honestly, if we had Adam Warlock, we wouldn't be in this position right now.
You're not wrong.
Oh, we lost. Okay, we're about to get our lick back. Don't worry.
Yeah, we gotta get look back.
About to ult on some mutants. Derogatory.
I'm as flawless as they come, darling.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Alright, who should the team up be now?
Well, good
How badly do we want to win, bro?
business acumen. We'd make quite the power couple.
Wait until the end.
Take another look.
No, that's when I switched to
You're not worthy of protection.
Doctor Strange.
This guy switched to Adam Warlock, bro. This guy's
Yeah, Lord Warlock
Oh.
is here.
4, 3,
Oh, then I'm back.
1.
and you're back.
All you need to do is capture the mission.
DPS.
Oh, you switched back to Star-Lord. Oh, you guys have the triple team up.
I fucked up.
Huh?
I suppose that helped.
Once you pick the side, stay on that side.
Yeah, I'm good in the West.
Oh, they're touching me.
Capture now.
Without me?
Mission area is yours. Slaps and barrels.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Who died? Oh shit.
Spider-Man's ulted me and Warlock.
I was fine. Thank you.
Get the Spider-Man, bro. Holy.
Oh, they do not look happy.
Alright. Give me a Psylocke to ult on, bro. That's what we need.
Capture more area. Keep going.
I sacrificed my life for the achievement. Map's moving, guys. Yes, Circle, you can eat right now, bro.
Never surrenders.
Oh, hell no.
Almost yours.
I suppose that helped.
Against the world. Keep fighting until we
They're coordinating really hard for this, bro. Oh my god.
How many? Oh, everybody's ulting. Who's next, bro? I swear to God, if Psylocke ults again. Oh, you're dead. Hoping I just one shot.
I was fine. Thank you.
Uh
They actually took East as well.
That's where he had Ace already.
victory.
Yeah,
Was
that's
he?
what yeah, he was Ace as Mantis too.
Oh, no, I know you.
I really tried, bro. Most assists, most healing.
Well, y'all really don't got one more in?
Yeah, I got one more.
I got one more. I gotta get 2 more mutants, bro.
Alright, last one though. I'm gonna be healer.
Let's have a Thor Hulk.
Who they got? Ken Frodo, Wesker,
Pick your
RE5.
hero or villain. I'm not judging.
The higher the pressure, the more dazzling the diamond.
We got Steel Balls. Get off my lawn, Mallard Man.
Playing DPS Shark.
Yeah, that shit is fun, not gonna lie.
The white
I'm a
queen
DPS rocket,
always
that's
gets
my
what
thing,
she
bro.
wants. at any cost.
Yeah, I'm a healer Wolverine.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
I don't need telepathy to know what you're thinking, Emma.
Oh? Am I that obvious?
You hate me because your version of me almost decimated the mutant population.
And there are more to learn at the bottom of my boot, should
The
you
battle
try
starts in
again.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
T'Challa built an empire? We can barely rule a single island.
Oh, they do not look happy.
Suppose that helps.
I didn't know.
Oh my god, I died.
Looks like the mission area is
My baby.
captured now.
Oh, they ship shape and no.
Yeah, we got like the same team. We got
Double KO. They captured the mission area.
And now there's Hellfire.
Yeah, it is a
today.
similar team actually though.
I used to switch to match. We gotta diff all of them.
Bro, I can't play that shit, bro.
Okay, I'll switch. You can take the shark.
Do I want to though?
Oh, I'm so cooked. I'm so cooked.
Yeah, I'm switching.
We don't have enough use
What is it? They have. Okay, I'm switching cloak and dagger, bro.
Alright, I'm clicking this one.
달빛의 피어나.
Well, commit suicide. How does this motherfucker get the kill? Oh.
Oh, buddy.
Your team's capture progress is
buddy.
the halfway point.
Oh, buddy. Oh my god. Oh, yeah, that's just not working, bro. Copying their comp like the move. Maybe forgetting who I'm playing is also not the move.
Bro. 0 bodies combined.
Put on a show.
Nah, we got
Us
one body.
three?
We got one. Oh,
No, no,
us combined.
They've almost got it.
This is pretty egregious.
It's okay, bro. I'm about to capture the point right now.
Good shit, good shit, good
Never
shit,
mind,
good shit.
never mind,
Good
never
shit.
mind. He did all that.
Oh, that's not good. Because that's good. That's.
The thing is on the point. The thing is on the point, holding it down.
This fight yet.
Good
You'll
shit,
have to
Raffy
keep fighting
Taffy.
until we have a winner.
Lord Cloak and
Just
Dagger.
dead.
Lord Cloak and Dagger. Show him how it's done.
Assemble!
Yo, this guy's assembling.
Us against the world.
Yo, it's us against the world. I mean, them against the world.
Pulse charge!
Yo, pulse charge fire. Oh.
Arjun missed, bro. Arjun hit the wall.
He hit the fucking corner of the
No, I
ball,
don't.
bro.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
Oh, okay. Oh, the shark's ulting. Oh, Starlord got my number, bro. Fuck.
Who did Jeff get? Did he get a new one?
I don't know. He got Rocket.
Oh, that's pretty significant actually. I just stay on point.
Hold him off point. Hold him off the point.
That's 3.
Kiss your ass. That's America's ass.
In a row.
Hey, imagine if they said that in like a movie.
Ooh.
That'd be such a quotable line.
They'd be like, yo, this guy's like trying to hype this guy up.
Now imagine if they made his love interest like the most interesting character of the whole universe.
Oh. Yo, what if he like went back in time and then when he came back in time he was like looked like Joe Biden, bro.
Yeah, what if he was fucking on his, like, was it niece?
Yeah.
Yeah,
daughter?
her niece, I think.
Yeah, her niece.
Yeah. I think he definitely
Shout
was,
out.
bro.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
He 100% was.
They got Jeff's back.
My name Jeff.
Oh, that's big, that's big.
More than half of the mission area. Keep going.
We only got half, bro. Oh my god. Oh, this should take like.
Hey!
Take a turn, bro. This is Captain America. No, he is some. Oh,
Ready
okay.
to put on the show.
We're in the
Alright, we chill. Wait, what? This works on me too?
What do you mean?
Yo, chill,
Why would it not
relax.
work on you, bro?
Well, I was in the air, like I was pretty far away from everything.
Oh, fuck this guy,
At least I
bro.
thought it was. Okay, stay on point.
Oh, I might be dead here. I'm dead here.
No.
Oh, I died, bro.
Oh shit. It's just a thing and
Nah, we go.
We gotta hold it down.
I'm not done with this fight.
Get on there, bro. Get there, bro. Arson, get there, bro.
I'm there.
Our shark's dead. Got no healers on point. I'm launching shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna die.
I'm healing. Just get on point.
I'm here. Okay, bet. We good.
Let's go.
Crazy locking.
Damn.
Holy shit.
Damn. Okay, that was fun.
It wasn't.
Alright, now let's do it again.
Alright, this time we got 2 goals to start. Okay.
Yo, big heals at the end, bro. I was about to die.
I do still
Yeah, Shark was
kind
going
of
crazy
have a
with
crush
me.
on Wolverine.
Yeah, shout out Shark, bro. It's only him doing the healing, honestly.
I mean, he was holding it down while we were dead, bro. The thing was like 1v4ing. Arjun was in the sky. Circle comes back.
No,
just
I'm
the-
not-
I know
just the
they're
bubble
mad,
on
bro.
point, not even the last ditch effort. Hail Mary the bubble.
Squad.
Alright, not right now, bro.
Wait, quick question. You don't eat squirrel, do you?
Yo, let's switch everything that's working and let's start trolling again.
The
Bah.
battle starts in 5.
Oh fuck, wait, I'm let me use that and then I'll start trolling.
Hey, bro. What do you mean? That's where it starts.
Yeah.
Hey, I bet I can help with the time fixing thingamajig. Or maybe I'll ask Tony next time I see him.
Yo, Tony, let me ask you next time I see you, bro.
What are you gonna ask me, bro?
Yo. They need help with some time thingamajig, bro.
Oh, they have a storm?
Looks like the mission area is yours to capture now.
I'm about to die. I wonder why they made that Star-Lord glitching ability, like... Is that something he does? I've never seen that shit in the movies.
Maybe it's just a tweaker, bro. You might swear.
Hey,
but
tweaker
like,
reference?
whoa. What's the ability called?
Don't know. I don't think I've ever played Star-Lord, or at least not for more than like 2 minutes.
Tippy-toe spotted bad guys. Ooh, a touch of healing.
Yo, Tippy was out of the guys. Pufferfish clown.
I respawn copy them? Let's fucking go.
You've captured more than half of the
They're gonna take damage the second they come out, bro. I altered all the
Oh, yo. Nah, these be the craziest ones, bro. It didn't even come out.
I'm trying to find a lineup. Alright, there we go. Oh, they're pushing.
Oh, fuck, yo. They're actually kind of damaging me and shit.
They spread out. There's 2
Oh, fuck, yo. I'm dead.
They're on the point,
I don't even know where you are, bro. Are they actually? No, they're not. Oh, they are.
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I'm fine in the west.
Nobody shakes us out of our tree.
Look at this guy, bro.
Here is almost yours.
Hit that bitch, bro.
Oh.
Kill him, kill him, just kill him, just kill him, just kill him.
I died.
Kill him, bro, kill him. Oh my god, I died.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, he's going crazy.
Bro, why did nobody kill him?
We were getting ulted by 3 people, bro.
Again!
I died. I didn't even die to him. I died to fucking Storm.
Bro,
And then I watched our
hit him
Star
as
Lord.
he
I took
was
Star Lord, bro.
going.
He's still going?
Oh my god, he's gonna kill me again, bro.
That's over that. Dude, that's embarrassing, bro. I'm gonna lie to you.
Nah, he didn't hit me with it that time. He didn't get a reset. He almost did. If he killed Rocket instead of me, he would have got the reset. Not Rocket. Jeff.
Man, why are you here, bro?
Huh?
That's not Munir, bro.
Is that
Munir
not?
Squirrel Girl. Munir Squirrel Girl.
Oh my
bro.
lord, man. I'm in a mad mood. My fault. Same thing, bro, honestly.
Aw, fucking.
It's Surfo, bro. I think it's time to bring out the big guns.
The basics.
The basics!
I am ready to put on
I'm
a
dead.
show.
Storm's gonna kill me, bro. Never mind. Never mind. Starlight got me. Bucky's back. Oh. Brought the squad.
Let's keep fighting until we have a winner. Tony's down. Oh no! Triple KO.
Let's go.
This guy wrapped
Calm
up
down.
locked in, bro.
39 times? Fuck.
Calm down.
Holy fuck, Surfo
Damn,
went
bro.
crazy.
Got 502 healing, bro. I'm going crazy.
Another egg.
I didn't even
67
know how I had
healing.
bro. Oh, I played the snow for like 2 minutes, that's all.
What you did?
Forgot about that.
Wait, I played a healer?
You didn't play on Warlock first?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think as Wolverine.
Wolverine.
I self-heal myself.
Damn. They thought they had it in the first
Aye.
game, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Night night.
But,
Good night, bro. Good night to Millard, man, too, bro.
Shout out Millard, man.